Hello and welcome to More Tea Minister. My name is Ian. Today we are looking at two teas from Alishan. The vendor is Taiwan Tea Crafts. On my left we have their April 2025, so a spring harvest, Alishan Qing Xin High Mountain Oolong tea. And then on my right we have the counterpart to that, which is the winter harvest version, which is, just to give it its full title, the Alishan Qing Xin High Mountain Oolong tea, and that's from October 2025, so last year at the time of recording. These packets don't usually look quite this size and shape. The seal for the packaging is probably about that much higher up on both, but I've already opened these packs to show the packaging and to look at the tea leaves inside. So this is what we're left with. Normally you might find the bulldog clips on these already, but I just wanted to be clearer. So let's move on from our introduction. We're going to be looking at that bit of video with the packaging and the tea, and then we're going to be doing, first of all, a Western or teapot style review of this tea, and then, or teas, and then we will be doing two separate Gongfu sessions for these teas as well. See you soon. This is the packaging for the Alishan Qing Xin High Mountain Oolong tea from Taiwan Tea Crafts. On my left we have a package, a 20-gram sample package for the spring harvest tea, lot number there, and also the fact it's from April 2025, hence it's best before April 2028. And on this side it's the winter 2025, and if you're wondering about the year, or the beg your pardon, the month of harvest, we're told that down there that it's from October 2025 along with the lot number. We also have information-wise QR codes in both cases. It's 100% tea leaves with ingredients from Taiwan, and both, of course, have a best before date. So now let's move on to take a look at the tea leaves. Back in a mo. This is Taiwan Tea Crafts Alishan Qing Xin High Mountain Oolong tea. This is their spring or April 2025 harvest presentation. The smell of the leaves, and I want to mention this first because it's a really remarkable scent. The leaves are so fruity and so sweet, it's almost like some kind of fruit-flavoured confectionery. The beads are pretty large. There's quite a bit of variety, but on average they're coming in at least 5 mils. There's some prominent stalk material, which hopefully the camera can pick up. Definitely some smaller beads as well. The colour scheme is pretty uniform. There's not much there that isn't dark green. And what there is looks like the long edges on some of these tea beads. But it's that really very potent, fruit-flavoured, sweet kind of confectionery scent that's very prominent. So let's move on to take a look at the October harvest leaves, and then we'll move on to reviewing these teas. Back in a mo. This is a close-up of Taiwan Tea Crafts Alishan Qing Xin High Mountain Oolong tea. This is their winter 2025 offering, and it's from October. The beads are relatively uniform in size. There are some outliers, and these are producing this sort of paler green element here, some that are maybe 5 or 6 millimeters. On average though, they are much smaller. They're coming in 2 or 3 millimeters at most. As I say, the color scheme is pretty uniform. It's dark green with some paler elements, including in some instances prominent stalk material like this piece here, but that's not the case for all of the tea. The scent of the leaves is slightly savoury, but it's predominantly sweet and creamy with a very distinct kind of note of freshness. So very appetizing. And let's move on to seeing what the tea is like for a tasting. Back in a mo. Hello and welcome to what's going to be the first of two Western or teapot style reviews for our teas, because it occurs to me what I could do is take each season, in this case spring, and steep the tea twice. So this tea has been steeped for 4 minutes, and because the leaves are therefore unfurled, this steeping is for 3 minutes. Just to explain the other parameters: 100 degrees centigrade, 150 mils of water, 4 grams of tea. So we can take a look at the colour of the two steepings. I'd say they're pretty much the same. The one on my left, the spring, the spring 4-minute, maybe slightly more yellow, and the 3-minute one might be slightly more green, but other than that, they're the same. The smell, creamy and sweet and vegetal. Something a little more mellow, more vegetal than I think cream for the 3-minute steeping. So let's try tasting. Hopefully these have cooled enough that I don't need to swap cups around. Yeah, the cream and the vegetal is there. That's how it comes across. It's very aromatic, and there's a lot of mouthfeel to that, a lot of body. That's really, really, really kind of aromatic. But the sheer amount of body to that's incredible. Let's go with the second steeping. As I say, a little milder, perhaps unsurprisingly. The body hasn't dropped off. It's a lot smoother. I don't think I'm used to using that much tea, so that's the only kind of distraction. It's smoother, it's almost richer, funnily enough. It doesn't have that high perfumey notes. Is it creamy? I think there's a touch cream and a touch of the vegetal, but it's still masses of body. So a really good showing for our spring tea in the Western or Teapot Style review. There's creamy notes, there's vegetal notes, there's sweetness, there's a lot of body. So we're going to do the two steeps for the winter harvest, and then we'll come on to our Gongfu sessions. See you in a moment. So here we are looking at our two steepings for the winter 2025 Alishan Qing Xin High Mountain Oolong from Taiwan Tea Crafts. The parameters are the same as for the spring, aside apart from the duration. So it's 150 mils of water, 4 grams of tea, 100 degrees centigrade, 4 minutes and 3 minutes. And let's take a look at the colour. Unsurprising this instance, I think things have panned out more as you might expect. The 4-minute steeping has a more intense colour, but I would say it's the same colour. It's yellowy green, but simply more intense on my left, the 4-minute steeping, or you could argue paler for the 3-minute steeping. So first of all, let's try the aroma. There is the same sweetness and creaminess, but it's perfumey in a different way. It's almost a fruity, it's like a candy or confectionery or sweetie that's fruit flavored. So the sweetness and there's fruitiness in that. And on the 3-minute steeping, the same fruitiness and sweetness, just toned down a bit, and that's letting the creaminess, I think, shine through a bit more. Let's try the taste. Yeah, same thing there. Fruity sweetness, almost candy sweetness. With some cream. The same, but more cream. Funnily enough, I would say the 3-minute steeping, there's a little more body, or at least perhaps it's more obvious. and also the vegetable notes are coming out more clearly. What we're finding with the 4 minutes is that fruity, sweet confectionery note is forward, and then everything else is following up behind. With the 3 minutes steeping, I think things are coming through at the same time. We're getting slightly more mellowed confectionery, fruity sweetness, and the cream and the vegetable notes all at the same time. Very harmonious. There's nothing wrong with either steeping in that respect, but those are the notes that we might keep in mind for this tea. There's fruitiness, there's sweetness, there's body, not as much as the spring, full enough. There's some cream, and there's some vegetable notes, and we're going to see how the Gongfu session brings those out. So we're going to move to our 2 Gongfu sessions now, beginning of course with the spring harvest, and then we'll come back to this tea, the winter, for our second and final review. See you in a moment. Hello and welcome to the first of our 2 Gongfu sessions. This is for the spring 2025 tea. We have everything set up as per normal. The water's at 100 degrees centigrade. We've got 3 grams of tea. I've gone back to using the more familiar, small, thicker-walled Gaiwan. Not that there's anything wrong with the more decorative one. If you watched the previous 2 videos in this mini-series, I was just feeling a bit nervous about using the best china, as it were, for these very frequent reviews. I didn't want to break anything. So without further ado, let's proceed. Everything is pre-warmed, and we'll be using 50 mils of water at a time, and we will see which of that sweetness and vegetable and creamy notes we can bring out through our Gongfu session. Let's make a start, and we'll start looking at the tea at 20. Some popping. That's always a good sign. With this being the first steep, and therefore the leaves are completely dehydrated and tightly balled into themselves. That's 20 seconds. Not seeing much progress on the unfurling or the steeping, and there wasn't much on the lid there, so we're going to push that to another 10. That'll take us to 40 seconds. Never fails to amaze me. This is coming up to 40. Not there yet. How you can find a rapid response for the steeping, the rehydrating Western, and it's so much slower when it comes to Gongfu. So this is now a minute. Right, let's pause that minute. That was a long steeping. The vegetables come through and the cream. Not much of the sweetness. So vegetable and cream there, I would say. Now, as with the previous 2 videos, I am trying to make sure the water isn't too hot when I drink it. I don't know why I'm getting nervous about that, but oh, a lot of cream. Huge amounts of cream coming out there. Almost Jinshuan, because you're picking it up. It's a oh, that's incredible. It's there on the taste. It's almost savoury, there's so much cream. The sweetness hasn't kicked in. Nor has the vegetable, just masses of cream. Take a touch more of that. And mouthfeel too. Although this is me just pouring that away to the wastewater jug. The body hasn't really picked up yet. Let's take a look at the leaves. Some of them are completely unhydrated, or dehydrated, should I say, completely dehydrated. So I think we'll take a look at 45 just to see if that first steeping accelerates things. The only thing that's really prominent is this stalk material that's hydrated fairly thoroughly, and I don't know whether that does hydrate first or simply because of the shape of it. When it does hydrate, it becomes more prominent. So, as I say, we will give this a check at 45. That first steeping, lots of cream. Almost savoury, just the sheer amount of cream in it. So we'll take a check at 45 and we'll see where that gets us. 45. Something almost herbal there. I think we'll just take that to a minute, and I suspect that will be the last of these more prolonged steepings. So we'll just take that to a straight minute. It occurs to me we didn't look at the colour of that first steeping, but it was pretty pale if you caught it on the camera. A bit of sweetness is coming through now, and definitely some bit of cream. Some cream is still there, and something a little herbal. I assume that's the kind of vegetable note. The leaves are more tender, but as of yet, definitely some room to unfurl. I was going to say expand, but I suppose they are expanding, aren't they? Colour-wise, that's a lovely yellow colour. Is it pale? No, I think it's a fairly rich yellow, actually. Now I've got some natural daylight coming in the room. Oh yeah, that's lovely. The cream has receded a little, but the sweetness and there's vegetable, and it is slightly herbal. It's not a straightforward kind of vegetable note. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's specifically floral or fruity, but there's some vibrancy there. That vegetal herbal note, it does add to the sense of freshness. So we've got at least one of the F's kicking about. Masses of sweetness on the cup as always. A little more body, sweetness. That's been pushed about as far as it can go. Pure duration, I think. Yeah, that's right on the edge there. Very drying at that point. Very tasty though. The sweetness is there. The cream's receded. The body is building. Really good. So we are going to bring that temperature right down. We can't do much about the temperature. We can maybe add a little more water, tone down the intensity, so we don't have that sense of it being as far gone as it can go. A little more water, I think, just a touch, and maybe bring it down to about 40. At least we'll check at 40. I really don't want to spoil that because that was very interesting. So definite progression with this. The creaminess starts, recedes, sweetness and vegetal herbal freshness creeps in. Body builds. Let's see how this third steeping comes along. Yeah, that last steeping's really feel like it's sucking the moisture out of my mouth. So, in fact, let's take an earlier look. No, I think we will. Yeah, we're going to do it at 50 because I can pick up cream there. So that's 50. Let's bring that timing down. That's a touch more watery, so you're probably looking about 60 mils there. Just sweetness, vegetal, and some cream. Yeah, the leaves have expanded there. I'm not sure they've gained much in the way of tenderness. Let's see. What you can see maybe with that one, that has unfurled, although there's still some give in there. With careful handling, you could certainly get more steeps after that. Let's put that to one side. How are we doing colour-wise? Is it paler? I think there's just a touch of green in there rather than it being pale. There you go. I think it's just picked up a touch of green rather than pale. The cream's back. How interesting. The cream is back. The sweetness is there. The herbal vegetal note has receded just a touch. That is really balanced. And cream and sweetness on the cup. Apart from needing to add just that touch more water, which I think is naturally diluted the intensity a bit, that's very well balanced. The sweet and the cream and the vegetable are all there at the same time, complementing each other. They're all there right from the off. The body is now medium, about where it should be with all those flavor profiles. Yeah, that's really good. That's the sweet spot, I would say. Yeah, that's definitely the sweet spot. So, what are we saying here? Just a quick recap. For this one, there's sweetness, there's cream, there's vegetable/herbal notes. That's adding a bit of freshness. They're coming in at different times, different intensities. And I'd say that third steeping is where everything has come into perfect balance, along with just the right amount of body for that. The first steeping was absolutely stunning, though, just a huge mess of cream. But the other aspects have crept in. So a lovely showing. Let's now move on to our winter harvest. See you in a moment. Hello and welcome to the final part of our video, which is our second Gongfu session as we review the winter 2025 Alishan Qing Xin from Taiwan Tea Crafts. The parameters are the same as for the previous Gongfu: 100 degrees centigrade, 3 grams of tea, 50 mils per steeping. Now this tea, at least Western or teapot style, took a lot longer to unfurl, whereas the spring unfurled very rapidly under Western, but didn't half take its time when it came to the Gongfu. So goodness only knows how this is going to respond. Everything is, as always, pre-warmed. We are going to take a look at this. Well, first of all, let's see how well it pops. You won't be able to see that, but that's a good indication, I think, of how swiftly it's going to, these beads are going to unfurl as the leaves rehydrate. So let's get our 50 mils in. Some popping. Let's get the lid on. Mostly it's just the beads, the little balls rolling around. I don't think we're going to see anything earlier than 30 seconds for this. I suppose it keeps me on my toes, not knowing what it's going to do next. So we're coming up for 30. We'll take a peek at 35. Don't fidget. Do I have to keep telling myself? Nope, touch of sweetness, and the leaves are really just very tightly balled. I think we're going to be another minute here, maybe a bit longer. I really don't want to push it for too long. I don't want to get any dryness and bitterness coming through. So we'll take it to a minute, no more, even if that's underplaying the tea a smidge. Right, there's a minute. I'll remember to look at the colour this time. So, something slightly herbal and something slightly sweet. That's really it. The leaves are, yeah, some of these leaves are just totally, even the stalk material hasn't re-steeped. And that was a minute. So this is not going to be, it's not going to be playing nicely. Colour-wise, that's not far off a white tea colour. Silver with a hint, it's silver with a hint of gold, actually. That's a very nice colour. Yeah, there you can see it. That's a really nice colour. Cream and vegetable, funnily enough, a lot stronger from the jug than from the lid. Cream and vegetable, slightly savoury, unsurprisingly, if the sweetness hasn't crept in. Curious to know what that's going to do for body with that first steep. Oh, the cream, there's a lot of cream on the cup. Already some body. and cream. Vegetal note is adding a touch of sweetness. Flavor's dropping off, unsurprisingly, for a first steep, but that is really impressive. That's a very impressive first showing. I am worried about overdoing this, so I'm going to assume it won't need more than a minute for this second steeping. I'd rather underplay it than overplay it. Yeah, some of those beads have barely caught the water at all. Oh, seeing some more movement now that the leaves have picked up some water. I think that's accelerating the rehydration. So, we'll see how this comes along. That's 35. Picked up something there. I really don't want to overdo it. In fact, we might drop it 5 degrees. We can always go for a fourth steeping if we need to do. Let's call that, that's 55. That's definitely picked up more colour already. Vegetal and a hint of cream. Yeah, those leaves are still lots of dry material there, or at least very much unfurled. It's really just the stalk material, so hopefully we won't have any drying bitter qualities. Oh, it's a lovely, very intense yellow, almost gold. That's really nice. Ah, there you go. Maybe with these jugs, that's how I let you see the colour, just tip them forward. Oh, that fruity sweetness. That's right there from a second steeping. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, almost candy. Perfectly well balanced. Flavour's still dropping off slightly. Barely a surprise. Everything's in harmony already. The sweetness, the body, the fruitiness. That's really good. Yeah. Apart from the flavour drop off, or at least let me say it's not lingering on the palate as much as you would want something that nice to linger. But again, it's barely steeped. So I think we will just repeat the process there. Yeah, there's still some unfurled material. Unfurled. That's the word. Let's see what this is like on 45. That's really good. That's really, really good. I was thinking as I did those 2 Western style reviews, I wonder if I got a 4th jug, I could do 2 seasons at the same time. That might expedite matters. We could have 1 harvest year and 1 harvest year and still have 2 steepings. Almost as if I knew what I was doing, which I don't. But I'm enjoying the journey. Okay. Again, we're going to play it very safe. We're going to do 55. I really, 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 really don't want to overdo something as nice as that. The vegetal note has come to the fore with some cream. Colour-wise, let's go straight for that. Yep, you're seeing it as I'm seeing it. More yellow than gold, but very intense colour. Fruit and sweet are still there, not as defined, but sort of working with the other aspects of the aroma, the vegetal. Still great wadges of fruity sweetness there. Actually, the sweetness is still pretty intense, but it's working with everything else. There's no drying, and there's no, we haven't taken this too far, which is good. The leaves are pretty tender, although with something like that, you can probably see there's still some unfurling to go. Let's try that. The sweetness is there right at the fore. It's still got a fruity edge to it if you make sure you've got some air coming in with the tea. That's really good showing. And again, I would say that's fairly harmonious. I wonder, do we have time? I think we've got time for a cheeky fourth steeping. Though we might keep this down to 45. Then we'll give you my final thoughts. Touch more water now that the leaves have picked up in volume. And I really think we should be maybe thinking about bringing that time down. That was at 25, not picking up much apart from a bit of vegetal. As I say, we're going to do no more than 45, even if this is just a kind of codicil. So don't fidget. Okay, call it 50. I really want to bring the time down though. That's 50. Actually, that's probably more like 47, I think. Cream and vegetal. Yeah, that's steeped a bit better. Look at that. Yeah, that's looking a lot better. Yeah, the leaves are tender. That's good. Yeah. Colour-wise. Yeah. Colour-wise, a little green has crept in there. It's a little paler, and a little green has crept in. Oh, sweet and creamy. And it comes across as quite fresh for all that. Or because of that, should I say. Yeah, lots of intense sweetness on the cup. Still plenty of sweetness. Wow. Yeah, that's just right. That flavour's lingering. It's not drying. It's not dropping off. Splendid. Okay. What can we say about this one? I love that fruity sweetness. And it's nice that that F has crept in. If it was fresh, really, with the spring, the winter one's got that intense fruity sweetness, both in the Western and in the Gongfu. The body and the cream are less prominent. It really, I think because that fruity sweetness is adding so much, but it's perfectly well balanced. You're getting the three things coming through together, especially in that last steeping. So a lovely showing from both of these. I hope you've enjoyed this review of this double review. And so it remains for me only to say happy steeping and God bless.